So welcome everyone to our December 9th Planning Commission meeting. We are starting right on time at 5:30. And today we have Lee Ballard, President, Ken Peterson, myself, Erica Craig, and Kevin Stella. And our first order of business will be our pledge of allegiance. And Ken, would you like to speak?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And are there any conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts on any item on our agenda? Let's start with Lee. None for me now. Ken?
None.
None for me. Larry? And Cameron?
No.
All right, has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes and make any changes that they needed, or does anyone need more time for that?
The only thing I saw was my wife was a guest, she didn't get counted.
She was a guest at what?
She was here on the 19th, but wasn't marked as a
Oh,
attendance, but
okay, so on the
but
19th,
it was good at the meeting I was at.
yeah, 11:19 and.
Darlene,
Yes,
since you've got the thing in front of you, if there's anybody online, you need to write down who they are that's attending, so we can put that on the minutes, that they attended by Zoom, that they were online.
Oh,
So.
And- and I'm getting a request for Otter AI to record the meeting.
Oh,
so I
that's me, yeah, that's mine,
approve.
yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Things just go away, what happened? My screen just went away.
yeah, I took over.
I just noticed, just hit it. Okay, all right. Okay. So I will make sure I do that.
So is that the only online thing? Is there anybody else online?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4.
So then you need to look at their names
Yeah.
and write down who they were.
There's a Kristen's note taking, I don't know who that is.
No idea.
Maybe. But you put your name in to get on the. You did, hasn't it?
Just a name, I think.
Hey, some people put 1, 2, 3, 4. I have no idea who they are.
Three people and yours.
And 2 note takers, okay.
All right, got that. All right, so, is everyone good with approving the minutes outside of that change?
And I wasn't here for one of the meetings, I don't know if we have to do them separate or. Like,
We'll do them together.
okay.
Anything else?
Even if I was there.
So does anybody else have any changes for Alex? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from November 12th, 2025 and November 19th, 2025?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 12th and November 19th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Great. And, we could just do a general aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jefferson?
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
my bad, you know.
All right, so, and then we have item D, which is open forum, and that is, I think we had audience members. And I know it's a busy season, so I don't believe there will be any open forum comments. So we can move on to commissioner comments, and this time I'll start with Karen. Do you have any comments you would like to make?
No, not this time.
Okay, thank you. Larry?
Done.
Me, I have none.
Yes, I do.
All right.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everybody on planning and zoning commission, mayor, and Kurt, and those that aren't here today. This is my last meeting officially as a commissioner for the last 4 years. It's been eventful and it's been fun and it's been frustrating and I've learned a lot, so thank you.
You're most appreciated. Thank you. Lee? No comments. All right. And then next we have a recognition of our departing commissioners and the mayor is going to,
Yes,
lead this.
yes, thank you. That's why I'm here tonight. So I wanted to thank Cameron and Kent. We have gifts for each of you. And so it's okay. So I wanted to thank both of you for, number one, when I asked you to serve, that you said, when I asked if you'd be on planning commission, you said yes. So here's one for you, Karen, and here's Kent. And then Kent, 2 years ago, you had said, I'm done, you're gonna have to find somebody else for the last 2 years, and then you changed your mind and stayed for the second 2 years, so I wanna thank you for staying for the next 2 years. And Pam has been on planning commission for, I don't know, I want to say 12, 15 years, it seems like. And so you thought you were done, and then I asked you to come back for 2 more years, and so I appreciate that you did that. So thank you both for having been on planning commission. I assume Kent is now very happy to move on. Well, and Cameron, I assume you are too after 15 years. So, and I know you are because you were gonna leave 2 years ago and I asked you to please stay. So, anyway, thank you both. All right, I am leaving.
Okay. I concur with the mayor's comments and I love, the perspectives that both of you brought and your passion. And as you said, it was always informative, sometimes challenging, and most of the time enlightening. And I think we ended up with always a better product from our discussions. So I really appreciate that.
And I want to add to, I was thinking about this and then I forgot by the time I walked in, but I did want to say that I really appreciate Cameron having a different point of view, because I wanted a range of views on planning commission. I didn't want everybody thinking the same thing. So I really appreciate, Cameron, that you came back for the 2 years and gave us a different perspective on things. So I meant to say that and I forgot. So thank you for bringing that up, Darby.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Okay, I'll see you guys later. I don't want to listen to the rest in case there's an appeal or something, who knows? Okay. I can't do it. Okay.
All right, so we're just we don't have any items on public hearing this month, so we'll move right into 2 items that we discussed in our work meeting, and has everyone had a chance to look at the documents in the folders? Okay, and I'm gonna take a moment to look at that. And the first item is a conditional use permit for Unplug. And the items that are listed here combine the items sent to us, that were recommended to us by the DRC. And then they're meshed with our conversation we had at our work meeting, particularly our conversation with Mr. Paulson. And so I think they pretty much reflect everything that we discussed. Is there any final question or comment? I think we discussed it pretty thoroughly during our work meeting, but is there anything that you feel that we missed or we need to do?
I have some comments.
Sure.
You want me to start now?
Sure.
So looking at this, and this is different than what we were initially given, so I'm assuming this is in addition to what was already put on for public hearing, is that correct?
I don't think conditional use don't go with public hearing. But this is based on,
Conditional, has that changed recently?
this is the first time it's been done under the DRC, where then it comes to us for final approval.
I'm pretty sure conditional use permits have to have a public meeting.
Well, there was a public hearing, but
Correct, a public hearing, when we got Monty was here, and
Monty was here.
they had a map, and they had all, this is not that document that I'm looking at. No.
that is, well, it is, and it's also based upon the discussion we had during our work. meeting.
Right, so
Yeah.
what I'm trying to, is this like in addition to that document?
That document is also contained in here. It's not in.
So we went from having a map and a layout to just having this one-page draft document. Am I looking at the wrong thing?
No, last month, we were given the final report in our public hearing / public meeting, the DRC. And, we went over it. Then there were comments, and then we had a further discussion at our work meeting.
And I missed the work meeting, I thought I was working out of town.
Yeah.
But there's things that was on that document that aren't reflected here.
For example,
For example, the letter from Monty Lutz that had to be recorded,
oh, it is,
that Monty wanted recorded.
one doesn't exclude the other.
Well, I'm asking, is this in addition to that? Just like,
Well, we discussed his letter was a big part of everything that went in here to address his concerns.
This is a different part of the process. This is the conditions that we are
Yeah,
to put on permit, not the description of the project or the letters from the public or anything like that. So,
the letter from Monty, okay? And he also spoke, and the map, and a list of some items which are reflected in here. That's all we were given by the DRC. And so then we extended the hearing, and then we got a full report. And then, after that hearing, we had our discussion, and that was in November. And this comes out of public hearing input, most especially Monty's letter, and, the recommendations from the DRC. I don't know if that helps.
and also our discussions with the owner, the applicant.
The letter from Monty, there is one it's recorded with the county. I don't know if that's what you're referring to. About his agreement. That's already been recorded, and that's in Washington County system. That's not part of this.
so that's completely separate from this conditional use permit.
Correct.
So when was the public hearing for this conditional use permit?
November and October. We started in October, we extended it to November. But discussed it at our our work meeting in November, and this is the final document.
Because this is quite a bit
It is different,
different,
It
in a
is.
very much different format
correct?
than was ever presented.
It used to be done very differently, but since the advent of the DRC, this is the first conditional use.
I'm just saying this is not different than what past time, this is different than the one in October.
There are additional things based on public input, yes.
No, but I'm just saying the format of this looks way different than the one, am I just
been
completely
retyped.
off?
It's been
Based.
retyped. But for example,
Well,
look at item number 2, backflow preventers must be tested annually, or fast growing vegetation, that's from the original document, it's just the format. Low-lying bushes, that's from the original, it's just the reformat. Remove metering. That's exactly the same, it's just been transferred over to this one. And then we added some, like the next one, based on our discussion. And
Based on the discussion that I missed in November.
correct.
And that would be like, I'm guessing, the 24-hour guest thing, I believe was, I remember
That's
that's on there. It was on there before.
And then we modified the string lights.
I don't remember the string lights being on the original.
They were prohibited. And
But
we
there's
had
all, there's,
a discussion with the applicants. And who agreed to go by our dark sky ordinance. And in the dark sky ordinance, if they are fully shielded, and he was willing, to have limited use. That was modified, but it was in the original.
okay, so are they not required to follow our dark sky ordinance?
He has agreed to,
He has agreed to.
yes.
So then why would we put in here that the string lights?
Because
Why would we put this additional thing in here? Why would we-
Because he has agreed to follow the dark sky ordinance.
I get that, why would we not just state that in here, rather than have this big long thing about string lights fully shielded, signage turned off at 9 p.m. Why would we not just put in here, follow the existing dark sky ordinance?
I think that was the consensus of the group at the time. And it's clear. Makes it very clear.
But, I mean, apparently we have his verbal agreement that he'll follow. The dark sky ordinance is far more than just that one sentence.
Yes, and there's mention of that below. So,
Mention of,
all lighting to comply with current VMC chapter 50. Which is the lighting is 52.
So I think that the string light issue had to do with temporary gatherings. And the discussion was held
Is
about particular parties or weddings or stuff like that.
And that,
And,
is that not covered in our current dark sky ordinance?
it is, but he is agreeing to do our more current ordinance rather than the old one. And so that's why we have this language. Just well, that's why it's there.
I understand that, I got that.
And string lights were a particular concern.
I agree, I'm not a fan of string lights, I'm not here defending string lights. My question is, if he's agreed to follow our current dark sky ordinance, and that's listed in here as one of the things, right? You just told me it was, I didn't read it, I didn't see it when I read through this. But you have said that he's agreed to follow our current dark sky ordinance. Our current dark sky ordinance already addresses string lights. Why do we need additional language in the CUP?
I think my understanding is that when he applied for his permit, he wasn't required to do the dark sky ordinance, the lighting. It's totally different. And I think as a concession to him agreeing to the dark sky ordinance, we gave him the string lights with a shield
They were prohibited.
to only be used, so it's an exception to the dark sky ordinance that he's voluntarily agreed to be a part of, or to. By,
And it mitigates the concern of the nearby residents, that is.
So this-
concern.
So
That's the answer.
This CUP this item, so thank you for that. So what,
But just.
let me just make sure I'm understanding that. This item, this string light item right here is a specific exemption actually granted to the applicant.
In exchange for him agreeing to,
So this condition actually is giving additional permission to him to do something.
that's my understanding.
Okay. So, and is that correct?
I may, yeah, that's my understanding. This precedes me, but this project's been in the works for a while, so there's some question about whether ordinances passed since the project had started were in effect. So this condition, I think, clears that up. Both parties, the town and the developer had an understanding. And I think this is to make things clear so that in the future, there isn't ambiguity regarding the lighting.
Can I make a suggestion? Would it make more sense to you if we said notwithstanding, the applicant's agreement to follow the current lighting ordinance, string lights, blah, blah, blah? Introduce the condition that way.
It would make more sense to me if it was reworded. Yes, I don't know if I don't know if that's the wording I would use, because it's great that he gave his verbal, whatever, that he's gonna follow our current lighting. I would like to see that in the conditional use permit. Actually specifically listed in there, so it's my opinion that which one is it listed on? Is that down below?
Yeah, all lighting to comply with current VMC chapter 50.
Okay, so, alright, sorry, I missed that, I saw 52 and then that's my bad.
All right.
So, it would be my suggestion then that, the string lights be moved down to that line where it says all lighting must comply with current, chapter 50. With the exception, with the allowance or some other language to state that he is allowed to use fully shielded string lights for events. Until 9 p.m. Right. So I think that would make it more clear to me. Anyway, that would make it more clear to me. I appreciate that clarification because I wasn't understanding why that was in there. The swimming pool limitation. I know that the Water Conservancy is working on, the Water Conservancy and the town is working on something like this. I'm not sure that our current ordinances would allow us to put such a restriction on someone. If someone could identify for me what language we're using to justify this condition. Like what language from our ordinances are we using to justify this specific condition holder?
I could answer that.
That'd be great.
And just so you know, it comes from the Water Conservancy District Ultra Efficiency Standards. Our general plan tells us to prevent overuse of public resources, and tells us to conserve water, and chapter 16, section 1622 C5, if you want to know exactly.
Documents in our folder. The binding documents.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
The document with the findings,
Oh,
that's in our folders.
Oh, it is, okay.
That's where the code citations are.
Oh, a Word document? Yes, you, findings.
I don't wanna have another meeting. I just want to clarify.
Okay, so you, do you not want me to express any of my concerns then? If you don't, then you can just say no, and we can just proceed, and I'll just abstain.
We had a very, very, very good discussion, last month. These have been in our folder for 2 weeks. Especially the list.
I understand that. I am still working, and I have to work out of town when you guys had your working, so I was not able to attend. When I attempted to open this file earlier today to review all these documents, when I had some time, the file did not open, the file was empty. And I don't know if it's because the computer needed to refresh or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I opened it, it was empty, and so I didn't review any documents earlier this morning. So at this point, if you would like me to just abstain, I will do so.
But, fairness, and Brody, I do see your hand up, but I plan on, unmuting you, but in a bit, when we're through with this first part. I hope that's okay with you. Yeah. We have a ton of time. We can spend some more time on this, but, there were 9 items on the original, and I believe they're all here. So those are already been posted multiple times. So, the swimming pool, there's the findings document that has the information about where things are coming from. The next item is the dome skins. And we had a discussion about that. They're going to be a sandy color. They are aluminum and truly opaque. And, there was even the next item, any transparent or translucent areas of structures which allow upward light escape must be covered whenever interior is lit. And, Brody was going to research, with the company making the domes, the options for that. So, those 2 things have to do with the domes themselves. Did you have any concerns about either of those items, or did anyone else? It's pretty, what we discussed.
And I do have some clarification stuff also.
Which
So on the second one where it says backflow preventers must be tested annually. So is this a requirement on all of our commercial property, or is?
that was sent to us by the DRC.
I think it is.
Yes.
Required.
It is.
So it's not really a condition at that point, then it was already required, right? So I just didn't know if we required that in town or not.
That was one of the conditions sent to us by the DRC, if you recall.
And then the same thing with the sound metering. It's the owner or designated manager, so if they exceed the sound, they're gonna call us and say, we owe you a fine, or is there a fine associated with it, or?
Are we,
Is there a what?
So the decibel readings will be monitored by the owner or the designated manager. So if it goes beyond those noise levels, are they supposed to call us and say they violated it? And
Or they're supposed to mitigate it immediately. That's the exception.
rather than bounce around, can we start at the top and move down
Okay.
chunks that relate?
I did.
Okay.
So So that was 1 and 2. And then on-site management available 24 hours to serve guests. So does that mean they can be off-site? It's not clear to me.
It says on site.
On-site management available, so they, because he said he wasn't set up for that.
Well, but the commission strongly felt that was necessary. We've already talked about lights, which relates to the one further down.
And then the last one was just the quiet time, there's an asterisk, I just don't know what that asterisk means.
So if you turn to the end of the second page,
Ooh.
there's the explanation.
Yeah.
All right, so dome skins or the dome structure, either light trespass or
The dome skins, you wanna go there? Our ordinances specifically don't give us permission to dictate color. They only recommend color. I don't think we can require the color part of that.
well, they're going to be sand, believe, it's already indicated that. And that was part of, it's part of the mitigating. Part of the mitigation of an issue, and it can be related to.
I'm just saying, I just,
It relates to the general plan.
Yes, I can put a couple things in the general plan.
but if you look at the commercial zone, it specifically says in there that we are not requiring colors. Says it encourages them, but it does not require them. So I don't think that legally we can require a color,
We're just saying it needs to blend with the surroundings.
but that's requiring a specific color.
No, we're not, I have to disagree.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Mhm.
add something, thank you. Couple of things, it's my understanding, and I wasn't at the work meeting, I was out of town, but that the developer has agreed to this.
Well, that he was already gonna make them sand.
Okay. And in terms of, and thank you for questioning the legality, we did have a legal review of all of these, and our attorney's office felt that they were.
Well, with all due respect to the attorney's office, I've brought things up in meetings before that he's reviewed, and he came back agreeing with me after I brought up concerns. So, I mean, Keith's a great guy, he's been a great town lawyer. Tends to miss some things sometimes, so.
But didn't the prosecuting attorney also look at these?
Yes, Spencer from his office, I don't mean Keith, but Spencer.
And then,
So,
if you refer to the findings document, it lists code as well. For citations of code.
It does, right? I see that it lists that there. Specifically in chapter 16, it says that colors that blend in with the environment are recommended but not required. And I think if we're going to require colors, which I'm fine with, by the way, I don't care if we require colors, as far as our code. But I don't think that in the code, we can say recommended but not required, and then when it comes to a CUP, then now requires a specific color scheme.
I don't think we are requiring a specific color scheme. We're saying it needs to blend in with the surroundings. And he already has it picked and it fits.
So,
Also, I think recommendations of our ordinance, if it recommends and doesn't require, doesn't mean that we can't require that on conditional use permit. You know, so. If he agreed, especially if he's agreed to it,
Yeah, I mean, he was intending to do that, I think, even before.
yeah.
And then, all lighting to comply with current, the chapter 50, chapter 52, the signage, we talked to him about that. Number 14 is basically what the plans say they have to do, right? Sorry, number 14, stick to plan in accordance with the agency and impose conditions as submitted. Is that
That's
the accurate language? Yeah. Draft CUP conditions, the one under signage, stick to plan in accordance with Virgin Municipal Code and impose conditions as submitted. Trying to find it.
It's the plan we saw back in October, I'm assuming. That makes sense to me.
What's the question about that?
I don't have any questions about that.
Okay. I'm just saying, making sure that's what the intent was. That means they have to follow the plans they submitted.
Yes,
Okay. And then, construction shall be complete and the motel shall be operating with 1 year final approval. And the maximum capacity of 54 people. Quiet time is between 9 and 7. And
For the rest of the,
then that's why there's an answer there, and if you look at the finding to that one, we'll explain it more. Particularly the fact that the most affected property, greatly reduced the buffer, for this project. That should be under the ordinance. And that is part of that agreement that was recorded. And so out of consideration for that, the time was made to be 9 p.m. And then events prohibited unless limited to 54 guests. And that is
so
it.
my only other concern about that quiet time is 50 decibels, that's someone's talking.
Okay, but if you read it,
I see that it's measured at the boundary line.
other standards, well, that's during quiet time. Yeah, daytime decibel is 60, and that's,
That's the
That's-
sound, that's the sound of heating and air, isn't
yeah, so that's. But that's standards, if you research decibels and, look at other places with decibel noise ordinances,
it?
that's a fairly common amount. That's
50 decibels is
at night, at quiet time, yes.
at night.
If you're standing right at the property line, someone talking, if it's louder than that, that would be too loud. Normal conversation, not yelling, something like that. But I looked at quite a few resources on this, and these numbers did come up consistent.
Those are consistent numbers, huh? Okay. I just know what 50 decibels is, that's why I'm questioning it.
Yeah.
I know what 60 decibels is because that's the sound of my neighbor's dog.
So it's, yeah, and when you start going down that decibel study, it's just like, yeah, a lot of things are louder than we thought. Or not as loud as we thought. So, all right. Does anybody else, is there anything? We had a couple questions for you, Mark.
Well, we need to make sure that, any aspect of the ordinance that isn't online, of which there are many, or isn't codified with the rest of the ordinance, that, the applicant gets a copy of.
So that would be chapter 50 and 52.
Right.
You know, and I think I mentioned that in our work meeting, that he needs to have those.
We'll provide those as well as the uncodified chapter 60 references.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll do both.
Okay,
all right, okay.
and we will have to have this in the form of findings, which I just was learning about before I came here, and, I don't think we necessarily have to read them all into the record, but we can refer to them. Do you agree? If there are findings for each of these conditions, and we refer to them in the motion, then I think that will work.
We were also talking, we had a question. The road, well, the road, and Brody, we didn't forget about the road, but when we went back and listened to that DRC meeting, we noticed that was supposed to be studied. And so one of my questions to follow up with you, maybe at our next degree, is what is the status of that?
Okay.
All right, because when Brody referred to that, we went back and listened to that part of the DRC recording, and it was kind of like, yes, we need to have this study.
Okay.
Okay,
Will do.
I was told that, all members of the DRC have now signed off on the project.
That's correct.
Okay, so then we don't have to worry about any of those things, and I would think, okay, that includes the road? Correct, I think that, because it
Yeah,
was a
it's-
concern abroad, so.
Yeah, on the record, yes.
well, it's a consumer properties,
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
but we didn't feel that was in our purview to put it in.
Right, and it was not in the recommendation from the DRC, but we'll certainly
No.
work with the developer on that. My understanding is that he's agreeable to
Mhm.
make those improvements.
Yeah, and then did you have a question for Mark about some references from chapter 16 that, do they need to be included?
Oh, yeah, there's a section of the ordinance that's in 40. It's in 40, yeah. And it says that, the following conditions will be attached to every permit. And so I just assume that will be,
Done with the permitting process.
that will be,
Okay.
yeah, already on the conditional use permit before these others are added.
We will reference, yeah, is that 16.8.4?
16.40, no, 16.16.40 something. Wait, I have it here. 16.40.36.
I thought it was.
We can certainly reference those.
Okay, great. I mean, I don't know brainers. Okay. For one motion,
Well,
I have a couple of recommendations
okay,
for this after thinking about it. So for the string lighting, I think it should read, string lighting is permitted for events if fully shielded and is extinguished by 9 p.m. I think that should read that way instead of string lights prohibited. Except for temporary, I just think it's a better wording since they're already required to follow the lighting ordinances, which prohibits string lights. So I think that's a better reading for that. I think that your decibel thing, that the exemption may be made for construction, it should say for construction, not during construction.
where are we?
The asterisk, bottom, so it's exemptions may be made during construction to the daytime limits. That needs to say exemptions may be made for construction to the daytime limits. Instead of during, it should say for. There's always construction at these sites, and so there needs to be an exemption allowed for that, for construction. And I still disagree with the color thing.
With the string lights. And maybe I just didn't hear it, but I think you exempted the phrase temporary gatherings.
Nope, I said string lights permitted for events, you could say temporary events or gatherings, that'd be fine. I use the word events, string lights. Permitted for events if fully shielded and extinguished by 9 p.m. If you wanted to change events to temporary gatherings, that's fine.
You should keep it, yeah.
It's not the same thing it already says.
Well, it's putting it in the positive rather than negative, am I correct on that, Cameron?
Correct.
So, say that one more time.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
String lights are permitted for events if fully shielded and extinguished by 9 p.m.
And for temporary,
If you want to say string lights are permitted for temporary gatherings if fully shielded and
okay,
extinguished by 9 p.m.
that's fine, that's good. Oh, nice. Right?
So then, do we need a different condition for the signage lighting?
I'm sorry.
Then we need to make a new condition for the signage lighting. Change that.
And now we should read notwithstanding chapter 50, all signage lighting must be extinguished after 9 p.m. I don't think you should make them do that. I think you're just asking for trouble requiring them to extinguishing their sign lights. If someone's looking for the place in the dark, you're just gonna get people driving around more places, making more noise, causing more problems than a single lit sign. Especially if the sign is lit under our new code, which is far more stringent than our old code, which is probably good, but I really do. Yeah, I can Costco that, I apologize, but
One sign. Run it to one sign.
you should,
I think we've done that before.
they're already limited to one sign by our sign ordinance.
Correct.
Which is already written here. Excuse me, I have to take this.
Isn't that from the original one? Is that came from the original? The original. Mark, do you have the report?
The original report I do
And how is that topic read there?
on the signage.
It was different.
Sign, so the report reads as follows: signage facing south or southwest must have lighting that is dimmed or shut off during night hours. So it gives them the option
Yeah,
of dimmed,
dimmed.
So the lights actually come
dimmed or
on.
shut off after night hours. That time could be determined.
I would add the word dim. Or
Where are we making a new
well, you have
separate condition?
stream lights and you're gonna, yeah, so stream lights are permitted for temporary gatherings if fully shielded and must be turned off by 9 p.m. Signage lighting must be dimmed or turned off by 9 p.m. Separate them.
I think you have to say notwithstanding chapter 20, notwithstanding chapter 52.
What if we take the string light sentence that you just read, string lights, and added it to the all lighting shall comply with current VMC chapter 50 as amended, except that fully shielded string lights are permitted for temporary gathering.
That's fine.
That work? Okay. So then this would be left to just say signage lighting. Shall we turn off or dim? Dimmed or turn off? Dimmed or turn off, okay.
You can remember all this in the motion. Nuts. All right, are we, Mark, Brody has his hand up. I'm just gonna just give him a moment.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Your call.
Sure. Brody? I think,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
there you are. Okay, hi.
Hi. Hi. Thank you, everybody. I don't know if you can see me or just hear me, but yeah, just a couple of comments, I guess, if that's okay, just while we're on the topic of all this and kind of discussing it. I realize a lot of this project's been going on for a long time, and something that, I don't know, it might clear things up a lot or maybe not at all, but essentially what happened over a year ago was this was a short-term rental project. So it actually didn't ever require a conditional use permit initially with any of it. And it went to DRC meeting as a short-term rental project. And it was approved. And when I say approved, I mean going through that process and then signed off on. It's already been signed off on by the zoning administrator and the building inspector. The last signature on the building permit that's been waiting for over a year was the permit clerk, which had nothing to do with the conditional use permit and hearing and any of that stuff. It was just because I hadn't paid my impact fees yet because they were calculated wrong, and I was waiting for them to get calculated correctly. So long story, what happened after that is then the zoning changed to not allow any short-term rental stuff at all, and have been battling that whole thing for a while, and eventually had to get attorneys involved, and to where the town came back and said, oh, you're right, we already accepted your project, your application, and we signed it and stamped it, like you're vested based on that time period, right? So that took forever to get to that point, which was ridiculous to say the least. And then I thought we were done at that point, and I just go get my building permit signature because they had adjusted the impact fee math, which was about $70,000 was how much it was off that they fixed that I didn't have to pay. And anyhow, so then they're like, oh, there's one more thing. We just want you to go through a conditional use permit process. It's a new thing, and the town's words, not mine, right? It's just a formality. Your project's already approved. It's just a formality. It's a new thing we do, like just a formality. Well, that was, like I said, 6-7 months ago. So, and that's the background on all of this. So I appreciate, we're here, and I just wanted to comply with all of it, even though I'm learning a lot and now realizing that it's not even being viewed as what it was already signed off for in the first place. So you can imagine how confused I am with this whole process, right? Yeah. where it's been all over the place, which I can only imagine how confused you guys are, because you're just picking it up as it is now, and you're like, hey, these are the things that we're going through, and these are the things when it's hard because so much has changed, right, with the zoning and whatnot. So
I hear that, but we have to go by the process that's in our code, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, no, you're okay there. I just shedding some light on all of it, where this was already approved as a short-term rental. So I know you guys are at this point, but the signature that I get from the zoning administrator and the building inspector, that the CUP process happens before all of that.
Yeah, and
right?
I hear that, but
which is fine. I get where we're at now. I don't want to dwell on that too much. That's not your guys' fault or anything like that. I just more bring it up to.
So right now our review is to get a recommendation from the DRC, check for mitigating factors if there are any, and we have approve, the DRC recommendation. They did recommend approval. We can, as is, or we can, if we don't feel some things were, more fully mitigated, we can add some or deny, and we're certainly not going to deny. So we did add some, we had a good conversation with you last time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I do have a couple comments just on that stuff specifically. I know some people were confused, and so I just kind of trying to catch up to speed on all of that. So that's why it's been so long and so many different meetings, and I'm just as confused as you guys are, to be honest.
Hopefully this is the last one for you, okay?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. So the only things that I have, and I feel like I'm very familiar now just with the whole CUP process and what it covers and what it doesn't cover with Utah land law, and then also with, how you guys have it written in the code and the stuff for the most part. So like with that being said, like a couple of the things, like this the purpose of it, right, is anything that's not already talked about in the building permit or in the code anywhere else, and it's supposed to mitigate land use impacts, right?
Yes.
So with that, I mean, a couple of those pieces are just like, one would be like the sewer. I mean, we've been told it's coming for a long time. I would have loved to have just connected to that when we designed up all of our plans and did all of that. And still, like, long term, it's just easier being on sewer. But like what I guess, where does that fall in line of like how is that part of the CUP process, I guess, or on the CUP? Like, I'm fine to connect to it too, like when the septic system fails or it gets to that point, but I don't feel like everything's been designed within that septic allotment with how many, fixtures we have, with how many people, occupancy, all of those things. So I'm just confused by that one. We'll kind of start there, I guess.
That's from DRC. That's from the DRC.
Can I answer this one?
Yeah.
Hey, sir, sorry, this is Cameron. I don't think we've ever met, but I think this one's actually listed on here. This is mostly just so that you understand it and you're aware. State law requires that once a municipal sewer hookup is within 300 feet of a property, or whether that's a residence or a business, once that municipal public service is within that distance, that residence or that business is required to hook up. So I think this is on here specifically just to give you a heads up of that rule. I'm gonna guess that the Ash Creek wanted this on there, just so that you're not shocked when it does happen.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I got you. Yeah, that makes more sense if it's not you guys
that's
come up with it. I also, is that the rule? Is that the state rule? I know that's beforehand if you're within 300 feet, because the last project I had actually move it 100 feet just to get it up to my property. But as far as existing stuff that's there, that's the requirement as soon as it comes after the project, that part of it doesn't seem as, I mean, I don't know for sure, but that seems interesting.
Yes, that is required, and that's not just for businesses, that's also for residents. Now, with that being said, that is a public sewer line. So if you've heard that they're putting a private sewer line down the road, that would not be required as long as that line stayed private. But once that line went public, then that requirement would kick into effect.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that could be a lot on residential family. It's within 300 feet to run it.
My understanding is if a private line does come up Highway 9, and then if you wanted at that time to hook into it, that would be an option. Yeah. But that would not be a requirement.
Okay.
It would only be a requirement if it was the Washington County Ash Creek took it over. It became a public.
Okay, gotcha. So this
Okay.
isn't, that's not something coming from you guys. That's more just
That's
saying, hey,
state.
this is what they're requiring. Okay. And then the other one I was just gonna, well, a couple just really quick to clarify. So the has to be complete and operating within a year of this approval. Is that seems a little tight just with everything. I get it with the building permit stuff, which is usually that's where like the timelines are governed. I know that it's usually a year to start with the CUP, but a year to finish and be operating.
Sorry, which one are you talking about?
Construction shall be complete and the town shall be operating with 1 year of final approval.
Well, that's what the ordinance says.
That's,
This is just a heads up because that's what our ordinance, our code says.
can you cite that code?
Yeah. It's 16. And then I got a bunch there. I don't know which one it is. But it's. And the land code chapter.
So it's in 1616?
Yes.
And it says it's I know that's with the building permit, and that's to start, I want to say, but not to finish something.
Yeah, I believe that at least in the past, I believe that, I mean, we'll look at the little green project, he's not completed. So I think that there is other officers, other communities that have the requirement. I don't know that Virgin has that in our code specifically,
Well, understand.
but that's not saying that they can't require it. Now,
To clarify for the Labrie, the part that was under the CUP is complete.
Yeah.
The gas station was the only thing under the CUP. The other two are permitted uses. I don't know if that would have any.
well, I can tell you Zion White Bison's not done.
For us is true.
Which makes it sound like Virgin doesn't enforce that rule, but it's in the ordinance. Sure.
I understand where he's coming from in his questioning of this, because right now, it is very difficult, especially with a large project like this, that it is requiring specialty, imports.
Yeah.
It's hard to get everything done within 1 year. It's hard to get, almost impossible to get a house done within 1 year right now, unless you're buying a tract home.
I mean, I would love it to be done in a year, and I hope it is. I expect it is, but I don't want to be in trouble when it's not, because it's been over a year that I've just been trying to get to be able to start, you know?
Is there any language for a one-time extension?
Yes, there is, and that,
Maybe should be included.
yes, there is language for an extension
You know,
and.
one other suggestion, maybe, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Maybe it should be, maybe give them a year to get the building permit and all permits in place, and then 1 year after those permits are in place. Cause, you know, once all the permitting, and he still has more permitting and more engineering and stuff to do after this. Well, once this CUP is, he's probably still got another couple of months of just getting engineering and permitting in place. So,
Well, all that piece of it's done. I mean, it's been done for over a year, and that's the hard part with all this. What's going to take time now is anything else that comes up with the town, because I'm sure there's something. I don't know what, but I'm telling you, there's going to be something that's going to come up. I know you guys are saying that everything's done from the DRC side of things, and that everyone's signed off. I'm telling you, there's going to be something that comes up. And then the other piece is just all my financing. Like, up until this point, I can't go get a loan from the bank and have it be sitting for a year and a half of just paying lots of interest on it. And so it's been a lot. So I've kind of had to tell them, like, hey, just wait, because I don't know when it's going to happen. and get the final approval. So that's going to take, some time to finalize that. And so, and I can't do that until I know exactly what's approved to even work with.
So, go ahead. I don't think we have the authority to, look the other way on part of the ordinance in a conditional use permit, but one option is we could just remove that condition and rely on the ordinance. And then you would have that to go to and see what would be required if you needed an extension.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody? Okay.
That would be great. And I don't, at least I couldn't find anywhere in there where it says that it needs to be finished within a year. I think starting within a year, and then the permit is no longer valid, that makes sense. That's the same way it is with the building permit.
Yeah, that's currently in our code.
Okay. Yeah. So it doesn't say finish it though in a year in the code, right?
There's an establishment deadline, which means the business is running. So that's a year, but as we said, there's an extension available.
There's a one-time extension available, right? Correctly.
Okay.
So if that's gonna be,
Yeah. Sorry.
so a suggestion for you would be if you're concerned about if there's an establishment thing in there. I'm not super familiar with the way it is right now, but if there is a establishment thing, you might want to build this in phases, just as a recommendation for me.
That would work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, yeah. Okay. Yeah. The hard part is not necessarily the phases as much as just like all the infrastructure, even to get, one piece of it there, let alone all of it. It's kind of the same, more or less the same work that way. But yeah, how come it talks about that when it already talks about that with the building permit? There's already a timeline with the building permit that talks about, with it being valid and whatnot.
Well,
It just
we'll
seems
remove that one, okay, with that being.
okay. Yeah, that's great. Okay, and then so the see, the other one I was gonna ask about was just the 54 people. What's what I guess where does that come from? Like, I get an occupancy for the actual units, like that's already governed with the zoning and everything, the occupancy there. But for day and night, or like for an event, like part of this, it's zoned commercial. And that's why we have the larger dome, is to be able to do a wedding or have, even within the commercial zoning, you can have an event center. So unless it's like because of fire code or because of, bathrooms or plumbing or something like that, I just am confused on the 54 guests limited for events.
And the fact that events weren't part of the original application. And so that's, for instance, what your neighbor was surprised to see on the more recent request. So, yeah.
I mean, it was on the, I'm not sure what requests that you're referencing. I mean, the stuff they had me fill out for the CUP, it was on there.
The original plan where he made his agreement with you for the setback. That was what he told us.
Yeah, that was based on a design. I mean, it's not in a, it's a resort for people to come in and stay the night at and spend time there. But as far as like the setback and the design of everything, that was based on that. I don't want to be backed into a corner where someone wants to get married there or do a wedding there, have a corporate retreat there or something. And we're like 54 people is not that many people at all.
Yeah.
So that's, I just don't know I can have that conversation with my neighbor, but did he say 54 people? Like
Well, that's if
I
it
don't-
has to be the septic that you were
Yeah,
applying for.
yeah, that's occupancy of the units. That's like taking everybody that's coming into this room, and basing that off of the one bathroom or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not staying there.
54 does not include employees, by the way. Yes. Says guests.
It doesn't say yes, but. First one doesn't say good.
Yeah, if it's just talking about guests staying there overnight, like that, I get that. That's totally fine. But if we're talking about like during the day for events and stuff like that, that's
So that might be something you're gonna have to work out again with Ash Creek, and your sewer capacity. If I haven't seen your sewer capacity, but what we,
2,000.
I haven't seen it, right? I don't know what the specs are on it. So if we just put that to the maximum capacity, must not exceed that of the sewer permit or the septic permit instead of placing a number
but
on there.
and the septic permit, that's based off like what I've already done all this. They've already signed off on all the pieces. They know what's going on there. They've done the whole pool stuff as well. Like they already accounted for with the bathrooms at the pool and how many people are using, and if people bring guests and they come over too, and all that stuff. Like that's like I said, this stuff's been done for a while now on that regard. But I'm just saying if that has to do with them, which it does, and that has to do with actual occupancy of the units, has nothing to do with like people on the site in and of itself. That's different. That they're like living there, right? But either way, if it has to do with them, which it does, which it's already been worked out with them, it shouldn't even be on here. Like that's not a land use, or that's not a land like detriment to the land, I guess, unless it's causing, issues with fire code or something like that. But that's what I'm saying. It's not because of that.
Have any other comments before we go to our vote? Thank you. All right. There we go. All right. So my understanding is this: we're modifying removing the first sentence of the string light condition to go under the one on the lighting ordinance in chapter 50, and we're rephrasing that to say string lights are permitted for temporary gatherings if fully shielded. And turned off by anything else. Did I get that correct?
Yeah.
And then that would leave that,
But that's moving down to
this lighting. And then the one about signage lighting is to be dimmed or turned off by 9 p.m.
yes.
Okay. We are also removing the item number 15, construction shall be complete and the motel shall be operating within 1 year of final approval. And at the very end, I don't know that we came to a consensus about changing the word during to for.
The
Is
word
that
what?
the word you wanted to?
For construction, I guess this doesn't matter that much, it just means during construction, be for the whole time until they open. For construction could be any time after they open, but
Yeah, so we have to have a mini X in there because you have a broken water line and it's got the backup siren because you're having to dig it up.
Yeah,
All right,
That's why
so did I get that? Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did I get all the changes? I think so. All right,
What are we deciding on extension? Of,
oh, we're removing that,
okay,
the construction,
yeah,
we decided to remove that and just leave it to current.
to the ordinance.
Okay,
yeah,
So I've got a question, that stick to the plan in accordance with BMC as imposed conditions as submitted, with the imposed conditions as submitted, so this is saying that we are sticking to the plan that we saw before we modified it,
the plan he submitted
And
to
those-
the CUP.
and the conditions that were attached to that. It's telling us here
These
that,
conditions,
These ones.
these here,
yeah, it's not how I agree with it.
okay, then
I
look
agree,
at
but that's okay.
stick to the plan and these,
And imposed conditions.
And these
as submitted,
proposed.
and they submitted to us a whole different set of conditions than what we're voting on tonight.
and
So if we
these,
vote on this, is that mean those words or these words?
these,
These are what's attached to the actual permit, sorry.
but would adding the word these, to that sentence for clarity,
Yes,
do you like that?
yes.
Okay. So stick to the plan, of course, BMC and these imposed conditions as submitted. And that is, it's right above the construction one that we're removing.
This is the first CUP I've seen since I've been on here. It's been
It's
2
the
years.
first one that's come during our new process, and it goes, it's not that CUPs are new, it's this, the process of how we do them is new.
And I would like to see if we can modify the process. I think that it'd be very important to have somebody from the DRC here to explain how they got to the point they got to, like low-lying bushes planted and maintained.
It's right there.
Well, yeah, but that's the first time we heard it, and got a presentation, so I know, okay, they've worked this out, and they'll both the town and the builder agreeable. Not, we just, adding conditions
I-
because
and
we
I
had
know.
an opportunity, because we have them over a barrel, that's what I feel like is happening.
Yeah, I think that could be done if we asked maybe for a bit more context in the next report we get from them, because there should be a little bit of analysis of how you got to that.
Understood.
And
And if I may add, Madam Chair, to Commissioner McCrae's point, we are looking at tweaking
Mhm,
the DRC,
mhm.
making it more of a joint utilities commission, so there will be a forthcoming
And if it's,
revision, so
sorry,
to improve the process.
another suggestion, if it's already in the code under that zone, we don't need to make it a condition here, because we've talked a bunch about conditions that are already conditions, and you've got it set up, and it's already a condition, so.
Point taken.
These are just the 3 or 4 things that we're gonna require you to do. And the other thing, we have a verbal agreement for him to fix the road. But, no, that's.
I think-
I don't think he's gonna volunteer.
Yeah,
Because, what's that?
I think Rod, the town engineer, has worked with him on that, and that he's now okay with it. Is what I understand.
He's okay with.
He, the engineer,
changes.
He's approving he's giving his go ahead to the CUP.
So as the street is now, or with improvements?
I don't know. I don't know what the agreement was or what it involves. Maybe Mark does.
I have to check with them, my apologies, but much of this predates me, so.
yeah, that was a
I can't
concern.
back in.
Larry.
Yeah, if you were coming down Mesa Road and somebody was waiting to make a left turn there, there's not room to get around, to make a right turn or go across the highway. So until that guy makes his left turn, the 6 cars behind him are stuck.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's barely wide enough for 2 cars to pass it, let alone,
Agreed,
so.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's his responsibility or if that becomes partially his responsibility, but
I just wanted to,
We just know it's not our responsibility.
Is that?
Yeah. So, I don't know, from listening to him talk, it sounds like number 17 was not agreed upon by him and the town. That was my,
That came out of our discussion.
so that's Brandon, he's never seen that before.
No.
Years.
We discussed quiet time during our.
No, not 5 time. 17, yes, the maximum guess.
There was a problem. That was one of the problems brought up by, in the public hearing.
And we thought it was a factor that needed to be mitigated.
Yeah, I think
It was a grave concern.
if the capacity is 54 for what he is built, then that should be the top number. And a wedding of 300 people or a wedding that has 54 guests is gonna be considerably different amount of noise.
Yes.
50 decibels is the level of my voice without the microphone. And so if you had 300 people talking over each other in a band, it's gonna be pretty tough. So I think that's the reason we added the capacity. So it's not an event site, it's a motel.
Okay, so I think we've gone through all of the things and, we've made a few changes. We dropped the one on construction. We modified the string lights, put the string lights part under chapter 50. And then left the sign ordinance and added dimmed or turn off to the signage. We changed, the word during before decibel section. And we added the word these before imposed on the state to plan in accordance with. So do we have a motion to approve?
I would move we approve this, list of conditions.
What about the pool? I'm sorry to speak out of turn.
I did
What
not
about-
unmute you, Brody. I did not unmute you, nor did I recognize you. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
The pool size is based on what is it called? The water conservancy.
Water Conservancy.
I'll try to.
Is that required now or is it something we're?
They're working on it and we're going to be required to comply with whatever they end up with, but that's what the current draft says.
Well, it seems like if his permit was in before it's required, that he should be able to build the pool that he submitted.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, sorry.
It seems to me if the permit was submitted before this new change, that he should be able to build whatever he submitted.
So,
Yeah, we can't restrict him to future laws today, just like we can't restrict him to the lighting ordinance, but he agreed to it.
Well,
To get the string lights.
the reason we could is because the instructions for a conditional use permit tell us to protect this, that, and the other thing, and included in those things is conservation of water and,
So if this if this was just a commercial use and he wanted a 700 square foot pool, they wouldn't be able to stop him, right? Until this new ordinance is passed.
correct, although I guess the council is also considering, limiting pool size for those same reasons. But nothing's been written. What size would you like your pool to be for?
hold on. Brody, did you get the question?
Yeah, sorry, I was just waiting to be unmuted. That's what I was saying. The Water Conservancy District, they've already approved the size of the pool. They've had it for a while, and I just looked it up, the square feet, because I'm like, I don't even know what it is, and it's 800 and something, so it's just under 800 square feet. And so that's why I asked, because I'm like, to go back and
It's just
redo all
in-
that with them.
Just under 900 square feet or under 800 square?
Yeah, it's just over. I mean, I can get to probably the exact. It's just over 800. Let me see what it was. And 841 I believe. I'm not an expert on all of the, I can ask the pool engineer as
On
well,
the
but
diagram, there were no dimensions.
Do we want to change that to 850? If you would
I'm fine with that.
Anyone else?
I'd like to remove it, but if we want to put a square footage on it, and it's gonna work to what his plans are, then I'm okay with that. I think our pool, which I consider a fairly small pool, is over 650 square feet.
What's
It's
the,
not-
what's the dimensions?
It's 15 foot wide, the pool with the, if you include the steps that bring you in and the spot at the other end, it's about 50 feet. So 15 by 50.
So I have another question for you, Rosie?
Yeah.
Did you find out how high your highest building is?
no, I didn't, but I know that everything that we're building is the same stuff that was submitted to the building inspector that went through all of it and signed off on it. I don't know the exact height of the stuff.
22 foot.
Yeah, 22 feet is the maximum height, and I don't know if our building inspector knows that, but certainly the DRC should know.
Yeah, I don't know aside from whatever we send it to them, and I can find it all and pull it all up. It just might take me a second, but it should be everything that all the same stuff that they already have and looked over. And that's where I think it's great. You guys concerned about that stuff, but that's like they're reviewing all of those pieces of it from the standpoint of that's the building permit stuff, not the CUP stuff. With all due respect, I think it's easy to just kind of go down that side of things. But I thank you for the pool. Thank you for
Okay,
hearing
all
it.
right. I'm gonna go and meet you again.
And the 24/7 thing, that'll be the only piece just to save us time for the future is like actually having someone on site. I get having somebody available or they have to be there within so much time, but especially at night, like requiring, I mean, that means they live there full time. That's, I don't know, to me, that's a big step. I get like having somebody available or in case of emergencies, especially we already have the sound decibel thing and all of those pieces that are implemented. I don't see now the need from a CUP standpoint of having someone 24/7 on site. I get it during events. That's why we put it in there initially.
I think that one of the reasons we don't allow short-term rentals anymore is because people are often not having any management on site. And so the only way that you can have, under our current ordinance now, that you can have a short-term rental or an overnight rental is in either in the highway resort zone or in your home as a what do we call it, residential hosting, which means somebody lives there full time. So
Yeah. But this doesn't apply to that just because this has to be viewed. And if Mayor didn't explain that to you well enough, like we went through this with the town attorney. It was very, very clear that this can't be viewed off of today's date and whatever today's ordinances that are passed, let alone future stuff that hasn't even been passed. It has to be viewed at the day it vested from a Utah land law perspective. So I get that. That's why they're changing it, but that has nothing to do with this can't be viewed in relation to that.
I'm just explaining why that condition appeared on the list because we know how people feel about it and we've got a lot of input about it.
I'm sure, yeah.
That's why it's there.
Thank you, Brody. Okay, so I would like to receive a motion. Yep, and we need to, I am more than willing to read the changes of the. You got all the yours now, or should I just make the motion?
She's got it too.
You got them? Okay.
I have them all.
Okay, but I'll make sure.
I'll let you do it because my
Okay.
list is slightly different. But I do want to make sure that you mention in your motion that the findings for the each condition will be provided within a week to the file, so that, the applicant and anybody else who, needs to know what they say, or where they came from, can review them.
Okay. I'm writing that down. So I usually don't make motions, but I'll make a motion.
But generally, you might mention that we find that the conditions are, by our ordinance, our general plan, and that they're all the DRC.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the draft CUP conditions for unplugged, notifying all concerned that the findings or reasoning and linkages to town code, general plan, etc., will be made available in a week's time. And the following changes will be made to the draft CUP conditions based on our discussion. And that is the section on stream lights is going to be rephrased to are permitted for temporary gatherings if shielded and turned off by 9 p.m. We're moving that to under the language about chapter 50, which is the lighting ordinance. That the remaining language on signage, it will read signage lighting is to be dimmed or turned off by 9 p.m. On the item on the swimming pool, we're increasing that to 850 square feet. And on the item that starts stick to a plan in accordance with BMC, and we're adding the word fees before the word impose. And on the item on construction shall be complete, that item is being removed. And on the explanation of decibels, we're substituting the word for the word during in the sentence that begins exception may be made during construction. So it reads exception may be made for construction. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll do a voice vote on this. Just make a notation here. Lee? Aye. Kent?
Aye.
Darlene? Aye. Larry?
I want to say no, but I don't want to hold this guy up anymore, so, aye.
And Cameron?
I'm gonna say no because, I know this was looked at with legal and was sat down between legal and him because of his special circumstances and everything going on between the town. And it seems like some things have changed that maybe were not discussed between legal, him and the town altogether. And so I'm gonna say no because of that.
Thank you. Motion to approve the draft CUP conditions for unplugged passed. And that allows us to move on to our final item for tonight. This is the rating ordinance, and this is the version with the comments from our work meeting. So I have a chance to review this. Are there any additional points of clarification?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Just tell us which one.
So on line 125,
Okay.
it says we need a statement of the credentials of the person who prepared the plan. Are we requiring them to hire an engineer for the simple one, or it doesn't say anywhere what credentials we're requiring, but.
Standard, that's under standard grading.
Right. So it's,
And that's, we have that on all, yeah,
what are the credentials we're looking for on that?
would be an engineer.
So it's an interest, so now it says an engineer is not required for those, but now we're saying that they are. There's an engineered grading permit and a
No,
standard.
not the simple. This is the standard. This is for more than 2,000 square feet, not less, not 2,000 square feet or less.
So, is an engineer required?
We're over 2,000 square feet, yes.
So it should say.
It does.
Required, not just asking for the credentials.
It says E, standard grading permit,
Right.
on line 118,
Yes, 125, it says,
and that's under E.
yes, I'm reading.
So it would apply to the title, standard grading.
Yeah.
Is an engineer required, is what I'm asking. If it is, then that should say an engineer must prepare the plans. If we're just asking for somebody's credentials, I'm a homeowner, then I do my plans, that's my credentials. But
Well, I mean, whatever the credentials are, that's all it asks for. It doesn't say that it have to be anything in particular.
so why do we even have it?
The homeowner can submit those.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking. If it's an engineer required permit, then let's just put in there an engineer is required. If we're asking for credentials, what are we looking for?
What credentials?
Right.
Right, I understand, but it doesn't require any, so.
But
So-
should it, is what
Right,
it's
and you
asking.
say, you think it should?
What's that?
Are you saying it should say engineer?
Only if an engineer is required, but it doesn't say an engineer is required anywhere under standard, but we're asking for the list of credentials from the guy who prepared the plan, so. What credentials are we looking for, or can we just remove that? And
Well, I think-
for a draftsman to do it, we're looking for an architect to do it, looking for an engineer to do it, okay, no.
I think for this statement, I think Lee's right, it doesn't matter, like if your landscape architect, if he drew it up for you, that's fine for this small, I think that's what they're saying with this. And so I don't know why would we require them to give their credentials if we're not requiring actual credentials, so I get your point too.
Right,
I think these are pieces of information they need to make a decision on whether to grant it or not. Okay. And then if you see the next one, it answers your question, engineer grading permit.
right, so this one doesn't require an engineer,
Correct.
but what credentials are we looking
Well,
for? If we don't clarify it, I'm not voting on it, so.
I just think you remove it.
Well, my neighbor with a backhoe, has done a lot of work and maybe I could list his career and his resume as credentials. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a,
I don't think you need credentials, if you're not asking for like engineering credentials, I don't think you need to list credentials at all. That's why we care.
well, the statement, I don't see why it's a problem, because a statement of the credentials of the person who prepared the plan. Do we not want to have a little, before they get a
Not if it doesn't
permit?
matter, I don't think we should. I've got an awesome set of tools, that's my
But
credentials.
then whoever's reviewing this permit, if it says, oh, I have an awesome set of tools, the town engineer might require additional items. If it seems adequate, they'll go ahead and approve it without that.
well, it's like if somebody else fills out your tax return for you, you have to let them know who it is. And partly just so that they know you didn't do it yourself.
Yeah, just like if we hired an engineer to do my grading permit, then you'd wanna know who it was, but if we don't require a CPA or.
But I'm sure, just like if your taxes were reviewed by the IRS, whoever's reviewing it, in this case it's for a permit, would want to know, so who made that who filled out that tax?
So if the
form, and what are
homeowner does it,
It's the homeowner. If you have a CPA
So,
doing it. it's the
if you say I'm a homeowner and I did it, you're gonna say, no, you're not a qualified
No.
plan drawer?
Not
Yes,
necessarily,
you check that box on the application.
not necessarily, but if the engineer was uncomfortable with it, then he might ask more details.
If I may, it's just additional general information for staff.
Yeah.
I understand your question, and no, it's standard grading permit is not requiring any particular credential.
But it's your call, you
As
can
a-
either include it or not include it, if it's not included in the ordinance, staff still probably.
If I'm a landowner and I hired a draftsman to draw a set of plans for me. I wanna know before I spend that money that that's a credential that the town's gonna accept.
Yeah.
If it requires an architect, I wanna know that, if it requires an engineer, I wanna know that, so if we don't tell them what credentials we're expecting. Then if any credential could be looked at by an engineer and said, he's a draftsman, but he's not a very good one, so I'm not gonna sign on.
But since it doesn't require any particular credential, they couldn't refuse them the permit.
Then why is it here?
It was out.
Because it's a step that has to be accounted for, and it's wise to include all the steps for clarity in the process.
We should be worried about the amount of dust that comes out of that project, and it's not even mentioned in here, instead of asking for
Well, this is about permits, not about litigation, that might be similar.
but they have a whole list of requirements, and on engineering drawing, you have to have dust control, but on a non-engineering drawing, you don't have to have dust control. And one shovel or one scoop of dirt makes as much dust as the other scoop of dirt. Maybe it won't be as often, but I've lived in a construction site for the last 4 years, and
So what would you recommend? Would you recommend adding a 10?
whatever the dust requirements are for any of the grading should be the same on all the grading. And nowhere does it mention the track out gravel, which is pretty typical on most grading permits where you, even construction
Or
permits.
small things?
Well, especially on small things, personally, so in our neighborhood, there's 40 houses we've got since I've been there. And if it rains, people don't stop working, but they drive on a lot, around the neighborhood, go from lot to lot. And then the next time it rains, it plugs up our drains, and then it overflows, and the city has to pay money to go fix that.
Okay, so are you saying you need more time?
Right.
Time to look at this?
So I've looked at it all, and I don't think it's ready.
All right, because, okay, are any of the things that you mentioned last time not included here?
I don't think I was here, I don't remember
You
discussing
were
this.
here during our work meeting.
Yeah, I remember discussing it, maybe I didn't.
Yes, you asked Riker, you're supposed to meet with Riker ever since the last.
Yeah. Just discovered it now, it's not relevant, or?
No, that's why I'm asking, have you had enough time? You know,
I think they're good points and that,
yeah,
they probably are things that should be added.
so that means we don't have a work meeting. Right? But we could mark, the document in our folders and then send that off to Riker. And then, if we need to discuss it in the work meeting again, we can do that in January.
So you want my input tonight, or which in January?
Well, I don't want to rush through it, and Riker will have to rewrite it, so it's obviously going to have to go back to
So
Riker.
it's gonna put it off another month, but I put it on the record tonight, and maybe you'll review
Yeah. So what he could do is, do you have your recommendations written up? Do you want to go over each one and we'll make notes, or how do you want to get it to Riker?
it. Hold on a second. Yeah, 3 more items.
So the first one, the line 120, that section, and besides that number 3, you were concerned about dust mitigation
I remember Riker did talk about the track out. but
and the track out
Dust control and track out,
and track out. Okay,
and
then what's the
it's
next one?
on the engineer plans, it talks about dust, but doesn't talk about mud mats or gravel or track out. On that either,
So which section would you like to,
so probably, line 182,
182?
talking about a dust plan.
Okay, so
Somewhere
add,
there, add control on the
say that again?
mud, right, we probably have to word it, but there's some mud mats they call them, or
Mud
gravel
mats,
that exits track out.
mud mats. Track track out.
Are you trying to fix it as we sit here to send it on? Is that the idea?
No, I think they just wondered what section it should be in.
Okay.
Under section 982, it says a fugitive dust plan.
Yes,
Yeah,
so that's talking about the conditions on the site, so somewhere in there it should talk about controlling the mud. You gotta control the dust, but you also have to control the mud that
Okay.
comes out every time you drive on the property.
It just needs to be in that section F dot,
And there's,
F.3.
F13,
and most towns have very specific requirements for the track out. It's gotta be 20 feet wide, it's gotta be 6 inches deep, it's gotta be 3 inch drop, it's gotta be 50 foot long, it's gotta be at the exit.
so are you under letter
That was 182, I think.
F
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then
Oh,
section what?
so, in,
3,
3,
oh,
letter,
it's gonna be a new letter.
okay, so B R, right? Or Q?
it would be a new road.
So B,
I guess it doesn't have where to put it.
Q, any information, Dana, it would have to go before Q, so we have to remember.
Yeah,
Would you put it under N?
I would put it under, either under N or make it O.
Oh, well, no, so O would be the add mud mass and track outs.
Right.
P would then be the current O.
And then list the requirements for those too, not just say it's required, but somewhere
Yes.
for have it as a definition of track out is.
Require mud and or track outs with.
Most towns give you an option. Some people have big pieces of steel they put down in their ribs that will take the mud off the tires.
Required mud mats or track outs with listed requirements,
But if you don't have the gravel, it's a cheap way to do it.
okay?
And then under line two
Did
thirty-five,
I get that right?
yeah, I think it's,
235?
yes. So it says the town shall establish and maintain its reading inspection schedule. And inspection schedule needs to be adopted by the town. I feel like that needs to be done and included in here. Before we go on it, because if this passes and there's no inspection schedule yet, then
Do we know the status? Do we know the status of that?
The, well,
They're
on 242, the inspection schedule was added.
Oh,
So go to the next page.
are on file with the town at the time the inspections occur. With the most current inspection schedule on file with the town. Okay,
do we have an inspection schedule? Because it says on this that we're gonna establish one.
Well, it would be specific to the job.
so each job gets their own schedule.
That makes sense.
And so that's something
Okay.
staff, which is
Correct.
part of the committee
Correct.
process.
And that's to ensure that it's done in a timely manner, and doesn't fester and create dust.
So there's not a, so I think Larry's question is there a standard schedule? And you're
No.
telling us it's based on the individual project
Right.
you could say the project inspection schedule.
for the project.
Inspection schedule shall be adopted by the town, so they have to adopt this every time we have a different grading permit.
Well, it'd be based on, it'd be a staff. Yeah.
In this case, town means staff
We wouldn't have to come to the planning commissioner.
or the council. Okay. Are you satisfied with that explanation?
It's not, still not clear to me. It sounds like what we're required, like typically there's, you have a, if you're building anything, there's a whole set of inspections you're required to get for that particular. If it's a house, there's these 30 inspections. If it's grading, you know, what is it gonna be? Inspecting the sub-X, inspecting the track out, inspecting, and that
So,
should be standard for all of them. I mean, it's the same process, no matter.
well, there might be standard steps, but not a standard time. Yeah.
So I think because this is such a broad topic for many different things, it could be building a road, it could be digging a house pad, it could be landscaping, right? So this is such a broad ranging topic. that inspection schedule is gonna depend on what it is. So obviously, if it's a road, they're gonna do several inspections, like they're gonna do the pre-foundation inspection and when the foundation's done, and then at the end too. So I think it's good the way it is kind of written because it has to cover such a wide range of projects.
I agree.
Now, I understand what you're saying, especially for like the dust one, this is where what you bring up makes a lot of sense, right? How often are we inspecting for dust on a project? Is that like once a week, once a month? Or are we just doing it when we get nuisance calls? I think the dust one makes a lot of sense, when we're inspecting that.
And I feel like that's just gonna be responding to nuisance calls, most likely, unless he just, the inspector drives by and sees cause of dust coming from.
So, Mark, I have a question for you. Is it standard for towns to put specific frequencies on like what they're talking about, dust inspections into the code, or is that usually a staff thing?
It's usually based on the situation, if it becomes a nuisance, for example, dust is going on to someone else's property, you can call it a trespass nuisance, if it's kind of like a code violation, you gotta think about it. And if they don't, we could
And
stop order until they do.
I don't have much experience in the grading part of the construction process, because I made it my work to find lots that didn't require grading permits. But everything from that point forward had a very defined schedule, and you couldn't move on until that point was, that spot was inspected, so if it's different for every.
And that might be from the staff versus code.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah,
What do you, Karen, do you have a thought?
I have some things after he gets done.
Okay.
Then I have to.
Okay, any of you
I
guys?
got a couple more.
Okay, no, one more,
I got two more.
two more, okay.
And it probably is the same, fees required for inspection shall be assessed
What
in
line?
243,
Okay. Yes, same thing.
so,
And that's so they can change them over time, right?
well, it says that the Virgin Town Council will have a fee schedule.
Yeah. But they will amend it sometimes.
Probably based on yardage.
Size.
So should that be established before we require a permit?
We would do that Chair, we would do that in conjunction with the adoption of the grading ordinance concurrent with town council's consideration of the ordinance.
So I know that when I did a lot of building, the permit, which included the inspection for grading, was $1,500. And then the engineered plans are like another 1,500, $2,000. This is 25 years ago, so they're totally way more than that now. And then the actual grading, of course, is way more than that, but I knew that every time I went in, if I was gonna grade a residential lot, it was gonna cost me $1,500 to have my plans approved and inspected. It just,
Well, it usually isn't the planning commission that determines fees. It's usually done by the.
but it's mentioned in here, and it seemed like the fee should be established before the code is established.
Right, before they wrote this into the ordinance.
Yeah,
And that's something that was.
and then one last thing.
Yeah.
The, line 269, the complete application and payment of fees is required before they issue the permit, but I think it should be required before review. Because I think we had an issue with that before, where somebody filled out an application to beat a deadline, and it had, 3 words on it, and it wasn't complete, and there was no money attached to it. And
Say that again.
so the complete application and payment of fees has to be done before the permit is issued, but I think that before the town reviews it, the application must be complete and the fees must be paid.
Well, some part of the town is going to have to review it to determine if it's complete.
What's that?
There's always a question as to whether an application is complete, and the town staff has to confirm that by reviewing it, so. It would be,
If I
So they
may add,
review the application, right?
yeah, if I may add, We don't, staff doesn't consider an application complete until a fee has been paid.
So they don't look at it at all until it's,
Correct.
okay.
Did you notice number 5 there, on line 275? What line? 275, number 5.
So K number 1.
Yes, the best of
Yeah,
both, yes.
yeah, so it's reiterated there.
But this wasn't in
I
the
understand,
standard.
but it's the review they have to do that, but it's always better, I think it's better to be clear. Is that the last one?
Yes,
Okay, Cameron,
Okay, so if we go to E, that line 118,
118.
standard grading permit. All right, so this is just my opinion. I think that square footage needs to be increased and yards needs to be increased. Because, this is going to attach extra fees and to every single home built. Nearly every single home built in the town. They're all going to exceed those minimums, nearly all. There'll be a few exceptions, but nearly all. So I think that those numbers should be increased so that the average home does not have to pay for this additional permitting.
So you do not think a home should have a rating?
I don't think the standard home should have to pay,
for an engineer.
I don't think the standard home should have to pay for a grading and excavation permit. And then if you go to F, this is the engineered grading. Obviously, if you increase the standard, I think the engineered one should also be increased. But you are missing a square footage there. There's only the cubic yards. There's no square footage mentioned. So you have clearing or disturbs the natural grade of more than 1,000 cubic yards. So that sentence does not make any sense. So you need the square footage in there like you see in E. That square footage needs to be put back in there.
I'd be interested to know Rikers thinking, because I think there's a reason.
And I know,
I can't quite remember where it was. Ask.
I've only seen cubic yards as I mentioned, for triggering I think a permit or a grading permit or engineered permit. I've never seen square footage mentioned, but the square footage of 2,000 feet would require that, like you said, every single home would have to have, I don't, unless you're just planting a couple of trees and changing the drainage of the side of your house.
There's a good possibility that even if all I do is landscape my backyard, I would have to come in for grading permit. Depending on how I did it. So for example, the way Kent did his backyard over time. And where he put in all those terraces and walls and things and they changed the grading of his yard and he would have been required to come in and get a permit to do that.
I would agree to pay for that.
I just don't think we should. I think homes are expensive enough. I don't think we should be adding to the cost of homes.
But it's not just about building a home.
No, it's not. It's not. But I think it should be adjusted so that the standard home does not have to pay this. Or make a special exemption for residential homes. That's fine with me. Either way it works.
I would disagree.
My understanding that the cost of the standard grading permit would be much less. I think that's what we talked about.
We're gonna have much less work involved.
Correct. I think it was just so that the whole oversight.
Despite the cost. Thank you. I have to leave. Apologies. I'm gonna leave you early. I know you're just about done anyway. Thank you.
It's been nice, Cameron.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yep.
So, I will reach out to Mike.
Okay.
And I'll have a conversation with him. Do you part of that conversation? Commissioner, I know I have multiple conversations later, but is there any other commissioner besides Larry would you like
I
to?
would like to go.
Okay,
All my product got attended to.
okay, so I'm going to make a note to reach out to Riker, because I want to know just he behind the scenes too. Because he did a lot of research in that.
Yeah, a lot of this
Richard Riker for Zoom
probably fairly easily explained.
with Larry. Larry, are there dates where you are unavailable?
Several.
Can you text me those if your phone is like?
I think my secretary's doing it right now.
Okay, she's doing it. Okay, thank you. And so that, I don't want to have it, when you're not available, but if we can get it to a vote next January, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, does that sound
Yeah,
good? I will take a motion to adjourn.
I mean, we adjourn.
All right,
Second.
hey, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I have a wonderful holiday, everybody, that includes everybody in the audience as well. There's a couple of people here. I want to make sure I can. Oh, do it. All right. How good evening, everyone. I'm just going to see if I can say. I just recall that. Okay. Oh, thank you.
Well, you get the
Thank you. Hi, Mayor.
Yes.
Yes.